Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Village of Washingtonville regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, June 21st. If you don't have agendas, they are on the table in the front. Some quick announcements. The Bull Road culvert replacement is about 90% complete. We're waiting to have the paving completed so we could open up the road. Annual fireworks display is scheduled for Friday, July 1st. More on that during the meeting from Deputy Mayor Lodato. Middle school moving up ceremony is scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. High school graduation is scheduled for Thursday night, June 23rd at 7 p.m. You will experience some traffic at night, so please plan your routes accordingly. Residents, please do not place any grass, sticks, or other debris in the brown bags. The DPW just won't pick them up. All right? They're not going to leave a note. I don't believe they leave notes, they just don't pick them up. So it's really for leaves only because it goes to a farm, and if you have grass in there, it could be hurtful to the cows, livestock. On Saturday, June 25th, with the rain date of June 26th, between the hours of 1 and 5, Vern Allen Park would be Pride in the Park Day, family-friendly event. Again, this Saturday, June 25th, with the rain date of June 26th at Vern Allen Park between the hours of 1 and 5. Okay. Moving along, new business, signage for Washingtonville Nail Spa, but we did approve this, so we're going to, right?
Yeah, we did approve.
Well,
The other thing
It
I
says
noticed
it's changing
is
to no electrical. Is this the new sign that's now in the black? Are they changing the sign
I don't
again,
know what
maybe?
the small sign is. Are there two signs there asking for a coupon?
Because this is being, right on the bottom, this rectangular one is 26.75 tall and 96 wide. Maybe she's changing, or he, I don't know who is
Maybe
changing.
the smaller one is right at the entrance. They have the listings for all the businesses and the complex over there.
So it's going from 60 to 96 inches. So you're going to fit in that area.
Yeah, in fact, what's up there now, I think it's too small.
Yeah, it looks like a stamp.
Yeah.
So that's a difference here, so 96 inches wide, which will cover probably to the middle of the door in the picture. That's probably right.
Yeah, I'm really, now there's two pages here, so there's three signs if you really think about it. I'll leave them. 60 by 18. 1, 2, 3, 4 signs.
You want to get more information?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
because we did approve
We did approve the one that's
the
there
other,
now.
the one that's there now.
So tabled until work session, which is July
Okay, there.
5th. Did not bring that up in the announcement, so we'll go back. July 4th is a Monday, so we are rescheduling that work session to Tuesday, July 5th. It's on our calendar on our website. Okay, use of Village Park. Trustee Lodato, Trustee Kalor, we had some discussion.
I had received a call from a non-resident who wants to use the park for a large event. It's still on the fence on whether they are going to use the park or not. They're working on paperwork for it. But I do notice that other municipalities do charge to use the park for private parties. I'm not talking about organizations like Scouts and things like that. So I didn't know, And this is actually probably the first time that we would have such a large private party at the park. We haven't received the paperwork yet, but I think it's something to consider.
Private party, like graduation party? or just-
She didn't specify, I didn't ask. And she said it was a family party, about 150 people, so.
And the other thing we want to make sure we point out to the audience is that it's a non-resident.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if she gets a resident and sponsors her, then it's allowed, it would be allowed? Or would be considered? Like, what's the difference between Little League using Burn Allen or using any of the parks and using a resident to sponsor it?
Right.
We literally has insurance. I don't think we
Yeah.
would have insurance, number one.
Well, she's getting,
Provider?
she's looking for a provider to give, one-day insurance for the party.
I'm not going to put her outside unless she gets a sponsor. That's a tricky thing. Because she pay the fee to use the park. Because the taxpayer sponsored that park, which is set up another
Municipality.
to use the park.
You talking all three parks or just?
And they, if they're not village residents.
So like, for example, Little League, are they the person who came to us to use Little League, to use the field? They were a resident of the village?
Or is it because it's in Washington? You know,
We just looked at it as the league,
Yeah,
not,
Washington,
not
Little
as
League
a-
is a community. That's, I looked at it, anyway.
Yeah, no.
yeah.
We also think we would have discussions about that the next year,
Yes.
about the
Yeah.
other organizations.
I mean, I know that the school came and did it at Memorial Park, they did it at a concert. And I know they had to give us a seat, the certificate of insurance, but were they sponsored by the village resident? I don't know. Or school?
Look at Washington.
I don't know. Just throwing it out
No,
there.
good question.
No,
I just think it's something to consider. I did not get the permit, but I don't know if I will, she said she was looking around in the parks, so I don't know what's.
Well, we should have some kind of policy about residents who want to use it versus non-residents, or we
Yeah.
charge a fee for non-residents. Or, I know, like Captain One, they charge a residential fee and a non-residential fee.
Right.
Right.
I think the village would go up something for discussion. So, Smith Cole.
Oh, if you're not a resident, you can't use it.
Right.
If we were gonna do something like that, where private people can have like a party or whatever, I would maybe want to suggest that we do one park allowed. Because if you have like a weekend coming up, and you have 4 people requesting the parks, then the community can't use the park at all.
Right.
If we're,
Definitely not use firemen's ward.
right.
Right, we're not.
Yeah, no.
Anyway, I think we need to discuss it.
Oh, absolutely. That's right.
Yeah.
She was calling me with questions, and I was like, no, to be honest with you, this is the first time anyone's requested this.
We'll just
Bring it up.
Valerie, if she does call back, can we just say no for this time?
Whatever you guys decide.
Well, hopefully she wants to use it in August.
We'll have
Answer
our
for it.
together, yeah.
If she wants to use it next Saturday, there's a problem.
I believe it was the end of July.
Close to August.
I think also kind of party music involved, is there alcohol, we do allow alcohol?
No alcohol.
No
No,
alcohol.
I said that right off the bat, because of our park rules.
No smoking, not allowed.
I think you asked a question about barbecues.
Yes. She did ask if they could bring a propane tank, again, I said, I have to check, I'm not sure.
All right, so we have a what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is she from the town?
Cornwall.
Or-
Actually C, not D. Girl Scouts are planting at Sewell Park on Saturday. July 2nd, I
Is this Mrs. Coy?
believe. No, this is Elena.
Yeah,
This is
2009,
Wake,
yeah.
right? So it's the second?
That would be-
I think they want to plant some bushes
Bushes, butterfly bushes.
and 2 benches they want to donate.
Right.
Yeah, so that's the second.
Just as a reminder, a couple of weeks ago, Mrs. Coy, she's also with the Girl Scouts, wanted to donate a plant, a tree. And we had suggested that this would be the year, but waiting to see what we were gonna do with Mrs. Garden before we, so there is that in the wings.
Is anything going to be as to the exact area?
No, that's something that we'll have to do before July 2nd. I think using the schematic drawing that was done we could work off that. 3D, 4th of July fireworks, Deputy Mayor Lodato.
I got the indemnification paperwork signed from July 4th fireworks event, and Stephanie recommended that she said that we should have the board vote on it. I sent you all the signed agreement, I have the original here, and there was also a slight issue with the insurance, which she went back and forth with them, and it's something that we need to see if we're okay with. What did she say?
That they raised it,
Yes, they did raise the aggregate from 2 million to 3 million, so that was,
Wasn't there a date issue, like a 2-year thing?
yeah, she said that the limitations that there shouldn't be any, and they said that this is what they use for all municipalities, so it's really up to us at this point, what we want to do.
Just give me 1 second.
Motion on the indemnification. Yeah, right. Anyone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Trustee Kolar. Second?
I'll second.
Trustee Kolar. Roll call. Trustee Kolar.
Yes.
Trustee Sampson.
Yes.
Trustee Kolar.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lodato. Yes.
No, that was it. Thank you.
Zoning board, planning board update?
Yes.
Trustee Sampson?
All right, so for May, for our building department, we had 40 building permits issued, non-violations, 15 municipal searches completed, and 1 fire and safety inspection. And our planning board, the next meeting is Tuesday, June 28th at 7 PM. It's a regular meeting.
In your packet, we have New York Electrical Inspections and Consulting. Looking to add someone else to the electrical inspection, which is an outside consulting firm. Even though the permit is given out here, it's inspected by outside firms. John Wheel. His name came up. Handed it to John Terry, building inspector. Yes.
I make a motion to accept John Brill as a building inspector.
Roll call. Trustee Kolar.
Yes.
Trustee Sampson.
Yes.
Trustee Kolar.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lodato. Also in your packet, we have resignation letter from Police Officer Vincent Beal. The reason for his resignation is that he is retiring from his position at the elementary principal at Minnesota Valley Central School District effective June 30th, and will be receiving his pension from the New York State TRS, Teacher Retirement System. It is not permissible for me to be a member of 2 New York State retirement systems as a retiree. This is an outstanding police department, the village of Washingtonville, and has been an honor and privilege to serve. He is applying for reinstatement once he's cleared to do so by the New York State retirement system. Thank you for all your support. I look forward to being considered for reinstatement so I may continue to work for the citizens of this wonderful community. I want to make a motion to accept his resignation.
Motion.
Second.
anybody have something that they want to add to the agenda before we open up to the public for agenda items? Okay.
Do you know if there's any update on the culvert at Haven?
To my knowledge, they're looking at the Monday after the 4th of July.
Okay, so they're pretty much on time.
So, they're looking at the 4th of July. All right, public comment on any of the agenda items? Don't all jump up. We're gonna go around the room, okay? Public comment on non-agenda items. Please state your name, address.
Susan Walsky, 24 South Street, Washingtonville. Again, first of all, I would like to implore this board to get some kind of audio that we can hear when you guys are speaking. Valerie, love you, but you got that little soft voice. I can't hear you. Americans with Disabilities Act and open meetings law do say that you have to make your meetings handicap accessible, including those that are hearing impaired. So that's number one. Number two, as you know, because most of you were here, there was a large turnout for the planning board public hearing this past week. I would like to request that the village, as the trustees, consider changes to our zoning code. Our OR code defines usages as single-family detached dwelling, multiple dwelling, professional office, combination office and dwelling. However, when you go into our village code and look at word definitions, multiple dwelling is only defined as a building arranged, intended, or designed to be occupied by two or more families living independent of each other as separate housekeeping units. I know in my world, the real estate world, multifamilies are broken down to two different entities. You have a 2 to 4 family entity, and you have 5+. 5+ is considered a commercial entity. So if this village board would clarify this, you can now change your OR zoning to include multi-dwelling 2 to 4 units. Furthermore, on the OR zoning, height, it says no building shall exceed 30 feet except as provided in section 175-83, which deals with church towers and spires and religious buildings of that set. However, it says, the planning board shall have the authority and discretion to approving a building height not to exceed 40 feet. I would implore this board to change and remove that language that no building can be higher than 30 feet and not give the planning board the discretion to go to 40 feet. That's it.
So not higher than 30 feet is what you have.
Correct. Technically, a 40-foot structure could have 4 stories on it, 10 feet to a story.
Thank you.
Donna Giacaruso, 39 Woodfield Drive. After last meeting, I have some questions and concerns as well. I went back. There's room for interpretation with, several things in the zoning codes. One that stood out to me, and we touched on this the other night, is when there's vague description. So we have to look at what the intent was. So when these codes were made up, when the zoning was made up years ago, what was intended by it, right? If language is missing. So 175-52D in the OR district, all new construction, reconstruction, or alteration of a building must be inconsistent with the architectural style
Oh my
prevalent in
God.
the area. So what we were looking at, 61 East Main proposal is not that. It is definitely not consistent with what's there. I mean, we look at Old Down Main Street. They all look like homes for the most part. I mean, there's bank and whatever, but most of the office/residential structures look like homes. They'll have an office building, an office in the downstairs, and living space up above. Not what is on the table for this next proposal. It's a concern. The other thing is the parking. So there was specific language in here about that. So what the picture looked like, you know, and where the flood zone, being in a flood zone, where exactly that parking is going to be. The same article 175-52 is timed A. All parking spaces will be situated in the rear yard or behind the main building with screening behind parking on the street. That's not what it looked like. It looked like it was parallel to the building, the two structures, not behind it. Also, C in that same article, each unit must have a separate entrance. I couldn't tell. The picture was not clear enough to see if each unit has their own entrance, or are they entering from a main entrance at some point and then,
Common area.
but each
You know,
unit,
If you're looking at the floor plan there, it looks like there's stairs that go up. So similar to what's over in Brookshire. That's what I'm,
okay, I couldn't tell by looking at that, it was too small.
As it cuts
Um,
through.
And lastly, and this is a big one for me, the removal of the property line. I do not understand for the life of me why that would even be considered. Why? That's, no, I understand that, but we don't have to do that. That piece alone, and here's the other thing, 59 East Main, you know, is for sale by owner right now. Well, there's something pending right now, because I know the homeowners. It's not looking good. So, I mean, that again is right next door to 61. So if we're going to remove a property line there, whoever buys 59 could request the same. How do you say no if you're doing it once? Why would we, please help me understand why we would even consider that. Could you help me understand?
well, that's why there's independent boards. The zoning board of appeals and the planning board. And you have the village board.
Right.
We're not entertaining anything with that right now. The village board, when it comes down to it, would just be the architectural review, like we were for Orange County Bagels. It goes to the planning first, then it gets put into the zoning board, and then it comes back to the planning board. And then whatever board's making the approval, then it comes to the village board.
If it gets approved.
If it gets approved. The village board is not saying, you know, this is what we want here. That's not what this board is here for.
It's
I
similar with the property
understand.
line.
The same thing with the property.
But we couldn't get answers last week.
No, I think the meeting, the way it was set up, and we were all
I understand.
present, was to gather information from the residents. Now, those questions will be answered. If not, this board will take up an issue with it, because we want to know the answers that were asked from the residents.
So right here, just tonight, these two concerns right here will be addressed. We will get some answers to this.
If what we could do is forward these concerns, okay, to the planning board, I should say to the attorney, because she's the one that's gathering all of the answers, and then Tuesday, the planning board should have all this information.
I also just want to point out that there was a misconception,
No,
Yeah.
there was a big misconception for what I could see on the big meeting the other night, is that these meetings started over 2 years ago between zoning and planning. So there was 10, 15 opportunities to raise any questions, and not too many people did. And this open forum was to air, like you said, concerns, not to ask questions. People came with the wrong idea to that meeting. There was 10 or 15 meetings before that to ask questions, and there might even be more after to ask questions.
and there should
But the
be.
forum, the forum the other night was not to ask questions, but to raise concerns and suggestions and ideas, but not to ask questions.
But with that being said, even if we were to change the zone at 8 o'clock tonight, it wouldn't affect that project.
Sorry.
So is there
It would
anything,
affect future projects.
is there anything on the agenda for any near future zoning changes to be made?
Yes, we have been working on it. It's definitely a huge task.
Zoning
and
companies.
we have to have an engineer look at it.
You know, you remember back in '98, right? The
One
big-
day, one day.
No. It was one of the biggest things they said that our village had ever seen.
Yeah.
It was when the CED,
What's it?
it was a low-income housing developer, right? John Spear was president of the
Yes.
planning board. Right, it was huge. I mean, we had to take meetings into the high school. There wasn't enough room in the village hall for the meetings. And, I mean, I had a lot to do with that piece because at the time, my mom was working for a zoning board attorney. So, you know, I had that access, and it, to say was scary is an understatement, because things were being done, and I did touch on this without opening a can of worms, because it wasn't the forum, but things were being done illegally.
They were
And
being done,
so-
sorry, things were being done legally or illegally?
Illegally,
Okay.
illegally.
By whom?
Am I able to say? And
I
without-
wouldn't things were not, the code books were not followed, nor were procedures.
And there were conflicts of interest, and there should have been abstaining from boards, and property was being given in return. Yes, and I'm telling you, I mean, it took years off my life, because we had hundreds of people out demonstrating, we were on the news, and they turned it into a racial issue, which it was not. It was that luxury townhomes were supposed to be built behind where we were living,
Right. Right, so Lafayette Ridge is.
Yes. and that was what was on the table, and that was what was proposed, and that was what was going through, except it wasn't that. It wasn't that at all, and it was all done illegally.
You got flipped.
And what did it was that I had found, and we didn't have computers like we did now. I mean, it was a lot of legwork, but the water lines, and this, I'm bringing this up for a reason, the water lines, if they were townhomes, would have gone one per unit, because they're individually owned. And they weren't, it was one per building. And that was when I had that big presentation, and it got kiboshed. But it took a lot, I mean, and we as taxpayers, as residents, we should be in that position. How did that not get recognized by somebody for that? It would have gone through, I mean, it was just that simple, it was so close, and they kept asking for extensions, and they were being granted with no legal. Things were getting passed that shouldn't have been without the attorney there. It was a new planning board member at the time who started to question a couple of things. And, you know, I'm glad for that, or it would have been passed, and it would have been, it was planned to be low-income housing there. And again, it was the impact studies that had a lot to do with, you know, but I don't know if that would have kiboshed it in itself.
I mean,
'Cause
I'm
it-
not putting anything in, I believe this is only me now talking. The other night, people thought this was being approved.
It felt it.
No. It's still.
I know,
it's still
but
a long
I'm
way
just,
to go.
I'm,
It's
I
so,
know it was.
You know, and we welcome, actually, the other night, I thought it was pretty impressive that we had a lot of residents.
Mhm.
Okay, now, without getting crazy, somebody who lives in Blooming Grove, thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. Sit down
But,
in the back,
mhm.
okay, because it's village tax dollars,
Right.
okay, that's affected. We like to think, the five of us like to think that we are on top of things, but I believe we have three great boards, including this one, in the planning board and the zoning board. We have great attorneys for both of those boards, and a great attorney for this board. This board and the planning board shares the same firm. Zoning board is a separate law firm.
How many members on the zoning board?
Fine.
When I went on, was there something missing from the planning board, member-wise?
The what?
There are
Number
five,
wise?
there are five?
Yeah, I think the one person just did.
One person was absent.
No, no, I don't mean physically present. I mean, what's on the website. I don't, I'll have to go back and look.
Should be fine.
Okay. And when there's a vote for this proposal on 61, it does not have to be unanimous?
That question was asked the other night. I don't know.
Questions.
It's a good question.
It needs to be, whether it needs to be a quorum or super quorum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
it
good
was one
question.
of the questions somebody did ask someone
Yeah.
else.
So if it goes, because somebody asked me after the meeting, what happens if it's 2-2? Then it's denied. Didn't pass.
Well, it can't be 2-2 if there's five board members.
There's
Well,
somebody absent.
What happened?
but
One was
Selena took, the
recused.
chairperson took,
Oh.
she recused herself.
Right.
You know, the only thing that we could do as the village of Washingtonville, the residents, is get involved,
They will.
like we did. But it has to be a good involvement. Okay, it just can't be, well, we don't like it, because
No,
it's
no.
going to flood.
Right, exactly.
And as someone brought up, let's put an art gallery. Art galleries flood too. You know, it's going to flood, but that's where engineering comes in.
Mhm.
And we have to believe the engineers. Good, bad, or indifferent. Some of the
I agree.
engineers are not good, but I believe it has to go to the DEC, if I'm not mistaken. You know, I mean, it's a long road ahead for this thing to be in the state. It's a long road to get this thing going.
And it's been 2 years.
I mean, is it appropriate to ask an opinion on if are we missing something as residents in that, is there any benefit to removing property lines in that type of a situation?
I don't know if there's a benefit to the village itself, but it's a benefit to the developer.
Right, I understand, but not to the village, correct?
Well, I don't think